the battle. You see my victory. When all I see is the mountain, you see the mountain. And as I walk through the valley, your love surrounds me. Oh, and there's nothing to fear now, for I am safe with you. Let's sing out. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you, and every fear I lay at your feet. I'll see through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. And if you are for me, who can be against me? Hey. For Jesus, there's nothing impossible for you. When all I see are the ashes, you see the beauty. Oh, thank you, God. When all I see is the cross, God, you see the empty tomb. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees with my head lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you, and every fear I lay at your feet. I'll see through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. An almighty fortress, oh, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you in every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. An almighty fortress, oh, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you in every battle. Nothing can stand against the power I won't forget the moment I heard you call my name out of the grip of darkness into the light of grace, just like Lazarus. Oh, you brought me back to life. And where there was dead religion, now there is living faith. All of my hope and freedom I found in Jesus' name, just like Lazarus. Oh, you brought me back to life. Hallelujah. No longer I who live, but Christ in me. For I've been born again. My heart is free. The hope of heaven before me, the grave behind. Hallelujah. You brought me back to life. When something says I am guilty, I'll point to the price you paid. When something says I'm not worthy, I'll point to that empty grave, just like Lazarus. Oh, you brought me back to life. No longer I who live, but Christ in me. For I've been born again. My heart is free. The hope of heaven before me, the grave behind. Hallelujah. You brought me back to life. Thank you, Jesus. How can I begin to thank you for all that you've done for me? Jesus, to fully praise you, it will take all eternity, just like Lazarus. Oh, you brought me back to life. 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 No longer I who live, but Christ in me. For I've been born again. My heart is free. The hope of heaven before me, the grave behind. Hallelujah. You brought me back to life. No longer I who live, but Christ in me. For I've been born again. My heart is free. The hope of heaven before me, the grave behind. Hallelujah. You brought me back to life. Oh, you brought me back to life in you, Jesus. Oh, we thank you, Lord. The enemy thought he had me, but Jesus said you are mine. The enemy thought he had me, but Jesus said you are mine. The enemy thought he had me, but Jesus said you are mine. The enemy thought he had me, but Jesus said you are mine. The enemy thought he had me, but Jesus said you are mine. The enemy thought he had me, but Jesus said you are mine. The enemy thought he had me, but Jesus said you are mine. The enemy thought he had me, but Jesus said, no longer I who live, but Christ in me. For I've been born Amen. That's what our God does. He brings us back to life. Hey, well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You guys can go ahead and take a seat and check out these announcements.
Kensington, Craig McGlasson here. I am the lead pastor at our Orion campus, and a couple events that I just want to let you know about that we've got coming up. One of which is a do not miss event if you've got young kids. It is one of our faith and family events, and the focus on this one is going to be specifically on media and digital health. It's going to be led by expert Chris McKenna from the organization Protect Young Eyes. And it's going to be an entire evening trying to teach both the tools and the power as well as the dangers of all that faces our kids with technology. So this Faith and Family event is going to be on September 28th at 6 p.m. at our Troy campus. Dinner's going to be included and childcare if you need it for a small $10 fee. So you can register online at kensingtonchurch.org/faithandfamily. So I told you we have a couple of events to let you know about, and another one that's coming up is for our men. So I'm gonna kick it over to my friend Justin, who can tell you a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so hey fellas, Man Camp is happening October 7th through 9th. It is our men's retreat for all of Kensington to gather together at a place called Spring Hill Camp, which is this incredible campground, has zip lining activities. We do football, tons of food. We have worship, and we have some incredible teachers. We have Craig Mays, we have John Pomeroy, and we also, we're gonna sacrifice by having Craig McGlasson with us.
They couldn't get anybody better.
But you know, I want to tell you, it is an incredible experience to get away. And I know this past season has felt busy at times, felt stressful, felt exhausting. And we believe that this weekend away will prepare us men for the days ahead and really speak to our hearts. Now, I know you're passionate about it, especially because you're speaking, but also just passionate about this for men. Why should they come? Why should they invite their friends to be there?
I think the things that have done the most formation in my life have been other men that have invested into my life, which is also why I think one of the greatest temptations in our society for men is to isolate and to just take life on their own. And yet that's the exact opposite of what we see in the life of Jesus, as he lived his life in community with men and women, but early on surrounded himself with his 12 disciples that just showed for us, I think, a really powerful example of how important it is for us to have other men in our life pushing us towards Jesus.
I couldn't agree more, because we've seen that in stories of men who have gone. So if you've been to Man Camp, invite somebody to join you, because you know the power of it. If you haven't been, take this opportunity and sign up. kensingtonchurch.org/mancamp, October 7th through 9th. Don't miss it.
Hey, good morning, Clarkston. Thank you from the front row. My name is Lindsay Narker. I'm the campus director here at our campus, and it is really an honor to be here with you today. So thanks for joining us in person, and for those of you watching online, we see you and appreciate you as well. I have just a few announcements. The first, tomorrow night, is our annual Vision Night. Now, if you want to be in the know on what is going on, this is the event you want to go to. You can still register. It's 6:30 p.m. tomorrow at the Lake Orion campus. If you text RSVP to 947-888-3138, I will make sure you are registered. There's going to be hors d'oeuvres and dessert. Childcare is available from birth to age 5. Now, our Vision Night is an opportunity for us to look back over the past year, really celebrate the growth and the beautiful things that have happened, and then also cast some vision for what's to come. So Craig Mays, Steve Andrews, Jeremiah, myself, all of our staff, we are going to be there tomorrow night, and I'm telling you, you want to be there. So register today. If you don't want to text, stop by the hub. We'll get you signed up. It's going to be a beautiful event just to come together as Clarkston and really look to the future to see what God's got for us. Also, next week, Sunday, we are starting our next session of Bible Basics. This is a 5-week course. We're going to offer it before service, 8:30 to 9:30 on Sundays. I know it's early, but I promise it will be worth your time. So whether you've read the Bible cover to cover, or maybe you've only read a few chapters and you're a little confused still, this is a great course to help you understand the history, understand the whole Bible in relation to how it's one book, not just little chapters in between. It's a beautiful session. It's free. We have a great teacher who is not me. Thank you, Jesus. But she will be here starting next week, Sunday. So if you're interested, you can register, kensingtonchurch.org/courses. Just search Bible Basics for Clarkston. We would love to see you. Also, feel free to stop me after service if you have any questions about it. And then lastly, I know I've been saying this every week, but if you are not on our Facebook page, now is the time to hop on. So take out your phone, scan a picture of this little image, and it will take you right to our Facebook page. This is the place where you should go if you want the most up-to-date and timely announcements, to see photos, et cetera, et cetera. We also do a monthly e-news. So for those of you that don't do Facebook, stop by the hub. We can get you signed up to receive an email, which has all the same information. Now, if everyone can stand up, say hi to your neighbor, and tell them whether or not you're going to go to the Taste of Clarkston today.
It's Sam Anderson here at the Orient campus, and we are doing a man on the street here, just seeing what are people afraid of. So let's see what we can get. Let's find out. Come on.
Dark.
The dark.
Spiders.
Spiders.
Spiders? You don't like spiders?
Spiders.
Spiders?
Yeah. Spiders, bees, and mosquitoes. Spiders.
I'm afraid of spiders crawling in my shoes, and then I put the shoes on, and there's a spider in there,
And then it
there's
feels
nothing I
like
can
your
do.
your giant toes are attacking it? Okay.
Definitely.
Okay, what about you? What are you afraid of?
Swimming in a lake that I can't see the bottom.
Really?
Really.
Are you afraid of like the Loch Ness Monster or something? What are you thinking?
Something might grab me.
It's just murky. Yeah,
I know what she's
I know.
afraid of.
What?
She's afraid of the Grinch.
I'll keep them.
Are you afraid of the Grinch? Is it the yellow eyes?
No, it's just everything about him.
Olives. Like black olives, green olives, all the olives.
All the olives.
All the olives.
I'm afraid of some animals. Like, I want a pet snake, but like I'm terrified of
You have a pet snake?
I want one,
Oh.
but I'm scared of them.
Falling off a cliff.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you hang out on the edge of cliffs?
No, not much. So
Okay.
I'm
So that's
safe.
a pretty manageable fear.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Failure.
Failure?
Yeah.
In what way? What do you mean?
Relationships with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Failing at being the head of the house.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of probably losing someone in my family or that's someone close to me.
I'm sort of a perfectionist, so
Really?
I would say failure, probably.
Fear of failure.
Yeah.
What if I walked into your house and reorganized all your books? Or I took all your clothes and messed them up? Would that?
Yeah, no, but if I knew you were mad at me and that's why you were doing it, then I would be upset.
Failure.
Failure?
Yeah.
Okay.
That won't live up to the expectations of a parent, even though we're learning it every day.
Yeah.
And every day's a
journey,
new
it's a
challenge.
process,
It is.
yeah.
It is.
I mean, I'm afraid of losing my kids.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the deepest fear, the one
Yeah.
that makes me feel a little weepy.
My kids' health.
Your kids' health? That's the main thing? That's what keeps you up at night?
The only thing that makes me a little bit nervous about life.
Having deteriorating health when I get older.
Okay, yeah.
I'm kind of afraid of that.
Yeah.
I don't have kids right now, so I'm gonna be real. Me and my husband been married almost 9 years, and I'm still thinking about having kids, but having kids kind of makes me nervous.
Yeah.
It should. I know. So does some of you. Hey, we're talking about things that make us nervous, spiders and stuff, and a buddy Christian that runs our tech back there right now, and his wonderful daughter Alexis have you guys like snakes? Is this thing gonna? Oh, it's actually coming closer to me when I do that. So, oh my gosh, does anybody like snakes at all? It's so funny. Earlier we're like, "Where's the snake?" and we literally couldn't find it for a minute. We're like, "It's okay, it's in the cage." But everybody instantly was kind of like doing that, like where? But isn't it crazy the fear? Like we all have fear. You guys didn't even know you're like worshiping, and there's a snake next to you over there. So that may not. I'm rethinking this whole idea now that we're in church with snakes. It's not like that at all. It's a good pet snake. What's his name again? Jormungandr. And it's going to get up to like 4 or 5 feet long. But it's crazy. Most people, you're handling this like it's no big deal. Jeez, I don't want to mess with you, man. So, well, do me a favor. Give Alexis a big hand real quick. Thank you for bringing up Jormungandr up here. And I guess we'll put him. Is it a him or her or him back in that box. Don't go near that box or knock that thing over. It's reality about what we're afraid of, though. He had Chris, how big is that rattlesnake you got, man? Yeah, I saw a picture of it, and look at her, she's shaking her head no. She's like, no. And we talked about bringing that, and we're like, that may be a bad idea and freak everybody out, But this idea of fear and the things that we're afraid of and we're nervous of and we're just worried about, things that are going to happen to us, things that could happen, things we don't like at all. Like spiders and all the other stuff. And it's so funny. Everyone's always acting like it's no big deal spiders until big spiders come around you, And it's but it's all the different things that we worry about and we're afraid of. So as we press into this final week of questions Jesus asked, he said in week 1, we kind of pulled out a lot of questions he would ask, but he had asked, who do you say that I am? Do you actually think I'm the Son of God? And it was a big, profound question that we had realized wherever we stand on that topic or that answer could change the way we live and exist. Last week, Sam Anderson did a great job. You guys love having Sam here. Isn't he fun? He's so cool, man. And he was here and just asking, do you want to be healed? Do you want to get well? Do you want help? Because Jesus asked this too. But he asked this question often and a lot. Why are you afraid? And he would always ask it in moments where you're standing next to a snake or you're on a boat and it's rocking and there's a storm, and seems to ask rhetorical questions why do you think I'm afraid, right? These questions. And so before we dive in too deep, we'd love to take our offering in this moment. And our ushers are going. I just want to tell you, thank you so much. I want to tell you some cool news. Over the past 3 months, our generosity has been up around here. Is that cool or what? It's been good. It's been a good sign that God's on the move and doing things, and it allows us, and I always want to remind everybody, it allows us to do ministry. It allows us to love people and impact lives, from marriages to our singles, to our kids, to mission trips that we're planning, to recovery ministries that we want to be part of, to one day maybe a cool sports ministry we could do here and compliment, love, and care for our community, and that's what that's going toward. And I just want to remind you that. And I want to extend the invitation that Lindsay did from Marie and I too, that, man, we would love for you to be part of our Vision Night tomorrow night at the Orion campus, just to share and celebrate what God's done, not just here at Clarkston, but collectively. We're one of 6 campuses. So, well, as we're kind of moving forward today with this final part of our series, this idea of fear, and fear is an amazing thing. Fear will grip us, it'll hold us, it'll move us, it'll propel us, it'll cause us to scream, it'll do all sorts of stuff in our life, right? And there's a story of these guys, and they were in a waiting room. And their wives were pregnant, and they were in a delivery room, kind of an old-fashioned delivery room. They were there, and the nurse came out, and she said, "Is there Mr. Smith there?" And she said, and he goes, "Yeah, that's me." And she goes, "Congratulations, you're having twins." And he goes, "No way, I play for the Minnesota Twins, man." And jumps up, and the next guy's there, kind of nervous, and the nurse comes through a little bit later and says, "Is there Mr. Frankfurt here?" And he says, "Yeah, it's me." And he goes, "You're having triplets." And the guy's like, "Oh my gosh." And he goes, "I work for 3M. That's so crazy." And the next guy grabs his coat and stuff, and he gets ready to leave. And the nurse says, "You can't leave. Your wife's in there." He goes, "I work for 7-Up. I'm out of here, man. I'm going." There's a little bit of fear that got a hold of him. It's a story I've told before, but it captures the idea and the concept that fear can get the best of us. And this idea of that fear will do 3 things sometimes, scientists say. It causes us to freeze. How many of you are freezers? You panic. You get something crazy happens, and you're like this. You don't know what to do, right? Oh, none of you. I'm sorry. You all jump into the moment of bravery. Okay. I forgot who I was talking to here today, right? Some of us will flight. We just take off and we sprint. We run. You know who you are. You're at the haunted house. Something happens. You're like, boom. You're like, psh, you're gone. You bolt, And some fight. Some jump up and you're in it. Maybe you shouldn't be, but you're there anyhow, and you go for it. And these 3 ideas, but this idea of fear is such a big deal, because it is the antithesis of faith. And as much as we love to say we have no fear, the reality is that doesn't seem practical in real life, does it? It just doesn't compute. We desire to have faith at the same time in the presence of our fear. This is why even from our Psalm 23 series, David says that. Says, "I'm not going to fear because you're with me. I'm there," right? "Even in the presence of my enemies, you anoint my head with oil. In the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear not." Why? Because you're with me. And he wasn't even saying, "I'm not going to be afraid." I am actually nervous in that valley. I am nervous in this moment. I am nervous about my future. I'm nervous about how to pay these bills. I am fearful about this medical diagnosis when I go to review it with the doctor. I'm nervous and I'm afraid that I can't fix my relationship, God, right? And in the middle of that, we're asking, God, where is my faith? Can I put my faith in you? Can I trust you? Who are you in the presence of my fear? Because we could sit and describe fear all day long. But I think what we have to begin to move to is this idea of describing and putting more faith and trust in who Jesus is. Because there's a reality that David had great confidence when he ran into a valley to face a giant. It wasn't because he thought he could take the giant out. That wasn't it at all. He thought the God that was with him was bigger than the giant, right? That's the concept and the point. And so I want to take us on a journey today just for a few moments. And I want to encourage you to do something. I heard somebody say a statement a while ago. It's actually Maria who works. She works with this amazing lady, Maggie Dunn. She speaks here. We're trying to get her to come back and speak again. And she was talking about fear several months ago. And she said this idea, and it made a lot of sense to me. She says, "Do it afraid." Like faith is often summed up in doing it, taking steps of faith while you're afraid. Say that with me. Do it afraid. Do it afraid, right? Man, some of you ain't going to do it afraid if that's your enthusiasm level today. You're like, do it afraid, right? Like, do it afraid, like moving that way. And this idea that it's all through Scripture. And I encourage you to get part of that Bible Basics, man. It's incredible to open up God's Word, and here's why. It doesn't mean you got to become a scholar. It's not like just this ancient text that means nothing. It really, I'm convinced for me, and I would love for it to feel the same way for you, that it really is alive and powerful, the Word of God. That there's something potent about it. There's something amazing about it. There's something significant about it just to our soul and to our practical life. It changes who we are and the way we live. But this idea of fear, that we see it all through Scripture. In fact, people have made a statement. It's in there 365 days of the year to fear not, do not be afraid. And it is. It's actually beyond that a little bit more. Because every day of the week and then sometimes twice, right? We need to be reminded to fear not. But how do we do that? And I'm convinced this. And I want you to be convinced of it too, here and online, that it really has a whole lot less to do with us and a whole lot more to do with Jesus. It's a whole lot less of the size of the thing that we're afraid of and a whole lot more to do with the size of the God that we look to. And that's what I'm hoping as a community we can begin to move that way when it comes to the things that we're facing and we're afraid of. Because that's what I would ask you. Jesus is asking these questions. He's saying, who do you say that I am? He's saying, do you want to get well? But he looks into the depth of the eyes of his disciples, and he asks them. And he asks them in the moment of a storm that is surging over the boat that looks like it's going to bust the boat in two in Mark 4. And it's surging over, and the disciples are caught and captured with great fear. And he says, why are you afraid? And it seems to be so obvious, Jesus, but he's asking them in full context, really, why are you afraid when I'm with you, is what he's asking. Why are you so afraid? Don't you have faith? And let's go on this journey today and begin to find out where our faith intersects in our moments of fear, because I'm convinced that it's not just that the fear goes away the minute we say, well, I got faith. It's that our faith is intersecting in its presence in the face of our fear. And so we do this, these two ideas, and I'm convinced that these ideas, a lot of our fears fall under these umbrellas. The fear that nothing will ever change. Have you ever felt like that? Like no matter what you do, you're not going to change your outcome. No matter what you do, it's not going to change the trajectory of your life. And there almost becomes a fear about that. And you give up, and you find yourself hopeless. And there's the other fear that too much has changed. Maybe we look at the pandemic, it's taken place, and too much has changed. It can never go back. The fear that something's happened or a diagnosis we got, too much has changed, and it's never going to be new. Nothing's ever going to be good now, you know? And we have this fear begins to overwhelm us. And fear creates doubt, and doubt leads to anxiety, and anxiety leads to even what Craig was mentioning there in the video. Like some of us men do this, you know, we isolate and we pull back and we do this and we retreat and we don't live a life of the faith that Jesus Christ is inviting us to. And so I want to take you on this journey. It starts of really a tale of two daughters. There are two stories, two lives, two people that are both at some level going to be plagued with fear in their life, and faith intersects at the right moment. So this first idea, the fear that nothing will change, and we pick up in the Gospel of Mark. And Mark has really gone on this journey. He's watched Jesus intersect these moments of fear with great faith that the disciples have in him and the people around him. But he's coming again, and he's been ministering to people, and he's been going really back and forth around the Sea of Galilee. So he gets in the boat, and he goes to one side to the other, and he's doing that again. It says there, Jesus got into the boat again and went back to the other side of the lake, where a large crowd gathered around him on the shore. And then the leader of a local synagogue, this would have been a big deal for this guy, whose name was Jairus, arrived. And when he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet, pleading fervently with him, "My little daughter is dying. My little daughter is dying." He said, "Please come and lay hands on her, heal her so she can live." And Jesus went with him, and all the people followed, crowding around him. Have you ever lost your child like in a grocery store? This is totally cool, to be honest here, if you're lying. Thank you so much. We're together, right? You've left your child. You lost them for a moment. You couldn't find them. And what happens? You panic. Fear steps in. You know what I mean? You're nervous, or you're looking for your kid in a crowd, or they've been gone too long in the neighborhood riding the bike, and you jump in the car and you become neighborhood patrol. Is nobody doing this? I feel like we're too anxious, babe. Maybe we're, right? And so maybe you've been there, or you're babysitting and you lost a kid. If that's happened, you're not babysitting for us. So we lose our kids enough. Can't have other people losing our kids too, okay? And so this moment where panic steps in is fear, but this fear is amplified times 1,000. He is the leader of the synagogue, which would have been at that time in the city. Everything would have been built around the synagogue. Everything would have been around that religious, kind of complexity of what they did in the synagogue and the marketplace. And that's where all the activity would have been taking place there, okay? And he comes running, so everybody knows Jairus. And he's running, and he's pleading, and he's asking. And now you can imagine there's this entire crowd. Imagine if all of a sudden somebody runs in here and says, "Jeremiah, we got to go. Come pray with my kid." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, come on." And we all go, right? Can you imagine how crazy that would be, that moment? And we'd leave all of our kids and K-kids. That probably would not be good, right? So we do that. And that's what's happening in this moment in this story. But in contrast, in the middle of the story, there's another individual. There's Jairus and his daughter of 12 years. She's just maybe exiting elementary school, maybe entering middle school, if you would. But there's another individual. It says a woman in the crowd had suffered also for 12 years with constant bleeding. She had suffered a great deal from many doctors, and over the years, she had spent everything she had to pay them. But she had gotten no better. In fact, she had gotten worse. Can you imagine, just for a moment in the story, there is this one individual, this daughter, that is loved, this woman that is loved, this young girl that is loved. She was on her father's knee in the center of the city. Everybody would have known her. She was doted on. Everybody knew who she was, what she liked, the games she played, knew who her father was. She was loved, she was cherished, she was cared for. And now the entire town is running back to her father's house, back to where she is. And there's another woman who for 12 years would have been in the shadows. For 12 years would have been isolated and excluded. For 12 years, according even, if you understand it, even in the Old Testament, under Levitical law, this bleeding disorder, nobody would have been able to touch her. Nobody would have been able to eat food that she made. Nobody would have invited her to a baby shower. Nobody would have invited her to a birthday party. There was no hanging out. They weren't going to Honcho to get coffee with the mom. None of that was happening at all. She was isolated, and in this moment, she hears and sees about this rabbi named Jesus, this teacher with authority that has been moving around the Sea of Galilee, moving around these places, teaching, and she hears these remarkable things that are taking place. And I wonder, can we relate in moments of the fear that she has? Because some of us walk in here and we act like everything's okay. I know we are in America, experts at everything's fine. How's it going? Awesome, super busy. You know what I mean? I mean, if a foreigner heard our description of our conversation, this is a really frantic people. How's it going? Super busy. I'm just crazy busy all the time. That's horrible, And really deep down, maybe we have problems and struggles and things we're afraid of. What are you afraid of? And she's so fearful she's never going to get well. Fearful she'll never participate in celebrating one of her kids' birthdays, her own children's birthdays. If she would have had kids, she wouldn't have been permitted to be part of that birthday. And not knowing the comfort and love of just to be able to hold hands with her husband. None of that's happening. in her life? Are you feeling this? And this idea of being alone and nervous. I never understood. I always heard people, have you ever had an MRI? Are they not the worst things in the world, by the way? Whoever invented the tube, I want to go to their house and just protest big time. Be like, was there a reason you couldn't have done the tube this big? You know what I mean? And you're in there, and it's like all this stuff, and I'm going there because I've got this mild neck issue with the disc thing, and I was just freaking out in there. And I get back in, and I'm already a big guy, and I'm like, fat guy in a little coat. I'm feeling like this moment, you know? I'm like, oh my gosh. And they're like, psh, how you doing in there? It's like, oh, excellent. Thank you for asking. Can you add 20 minutes to my time? You know what I mean? Like in that moment, I'm like, terrible. And then they're like, and then you kind of get nervous and you kind of move a little bit, you know? Then I'm like, oh my gosh. And they're like, shh, please don't move, sir. And I'm like, I'm not trying to. You know, it's a frustrating process. I feel bad for them. I would never want to be an MRI tech. If you are, God bless you. You're amazing. Like, it's a calling. But there's this moment of nervousness. And on the other hand, there's this girl that everybody's advocating for. Everybody's fighting for her. Everybody's running to her house. Nobody is looking out for this woman that's been alone and nervous and fearful. Like, they're actually like fighting for her. And it's amazing, like, to have people advocate. Doesn't it feel good when somebody advocates for you or stands up for you? I'll never forget, me and my boys had like this ice cream social at Clarkston Elementary, and Caleb, our oldest, like he had this little scuffle with some boys, and Caleb was probably like, I don't know, like 9 or something like that, and Noah was like 6, and Noah's always been a tank man, and all of a sudden I see Caleb getting kind of like, just like wrestling with boys, and Noah comes across like this little mini tank. Here's Caleb over here, right, and Noah just goes boom, like a bowling ball, man, and blast all these kids, and all of a sudden some mom goes, oh man, there's kids fighting over there, and I look over and I'm like, dear Lord, it's ours. You know? I'm like, oh, really? I'm like thinking, you know, it's that moment, like, wonder whose kids those are, you know? And you're just there. But I love the way Noah advocated for Caleb, but like family advocating. And there's no one advocating for her. It says she had heard about Jesus in the middle of her fear. The fear that nothing will ever change. The fear that she is doomed to her fate and she cannot escape it. Her future has fear written all over it and there's nothing she can do about it. Can you feel the desperate nature of this woman? Can you feel the destitute that she's been caught in? And Marie and I, my wife, we talk about this a lot. We want to see people actually find Jesus and find healing and find hope and find help. Because when I read the Gospels, I can't help but see people that are real like you and I that really have struggles and problems. Like to walk in here and to be honest with each other and say, I'm good, everything's fine. That's probably not true for like 80% of us, right? And if you are, it's like 20% of the time, and then you've got a season you're going to walk into, and there's got to be this moment where we ask ourselves as a community and remind ourselves, like this woman, have you heard about this person named Jesus? So she came up behind him through the crowd. Stealth is all that she has, right? Because she's been isolated, so she's sneaking in and touched his robe, for she thought to herself, if I can just touch his robe, I'll be healed. And immediately, the bleeding stopped, and she could feel in her body that she had been healed of her terrible condition. And there's something so significant to this. You have to understand, for thousands of years, all they understood through Levitical law, through the customs of their religious traditions, is that if you had a disorder, if you had an illness, if you had a virus, if you had anything at all, you were removed, you were pushed back, nobody wanted to be around you. And if you touched anybody, your illness, your disease would go that way. Have you ever had that where people walk in, especially now past COVID, right? It's a thing where like, someone's like, oh, I've been a little sick, I had the flu, and you're like, oh, really? It's good seeing you, you know? Especially if somebody's got like the stomach bug and you're like, no kidding. You know, you're like way over there and you're in your mind, you're like, what the heck are you doing here? You know, like, oh, it's fine. It's been 24 hours. No, it's not fine. You're probably in full bloom, putting stomach bug all over the place, you know? I'm just kidding. I know I'm not. We all feel that a little bit if somebody says that. If you got the stomach bug, you can go online, man. It's okay. We love you. But the opposite is taking place. She knows that she shouldn't do that, but she knows and has this beginning, like a mustard seed of faith, that there's something different about the guy named Jesus. And if she could just like touch his robe, maybe her illness won't go to him, but his purity and his holiness and his love, his forgiveness, his healing power will come to her. And it does. And Jesus is reversing. He is pushing back sin. He is bringing wholeness and healing. He is doing something so amazing because he is the Holy One. And I love this. It looked around. And Jesus at once noticed that this healing power had gone out of him. So he turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who touched my robe?" His disciples said to him, "Look at this crowd pressing around you. How can you ask who touched me?" But he kept on looking around to see who had done it. Can you imagine his disciples like, "Dude, bro, are you kidding? Like, there's hundreds, if not thousands of people around. Everybody touched your robe." And he goes, No. He's asking, who did it? And he won't let up in this moment. And he's not aggravated. Watch what he does. Because he knows there is faith. There is a faith-believing woman that is reaching out and touched his robe and has begun to experience the power and person of who he is. In the moment of her fear, at the same time, her fear is there, but her faith becomes present too. Then the frightened woman, she is fearful, trembling. Have you ever actually seen somebody tremble? Maybe you've ever been at the scene of an accident and the adrenals are pumped so full and there's nervousness, there's an anxiety. There's an overwhelmingness of the human essence of who we are, and we can't control it. She is trembling. She is probably crying in this moment. She is frightened. Fear is overwhelming her at every moment, and the amazement of what just happened is overwhelming her too because of her faith. Both are coexisting at the same time in this moment. Trembling at the realization of what had happened to her, knowing she had violated Levitical law, came and fell to her knees in front of him, and she told him what she had done. Now, she was fearful for what she had done because she had breached the Levitical law and touched the robe of a rabbi. Not only was she not supposed to be in the crowd, not only was she not supposed to be there in that moment, fear does this. Fear pushes us back. It says, stay here. You're not welcomed. You're not allowed. Don't go there. You're not included. We don't need you. You're never going to fit in. Forget about it, right? Fear has got this narrative and this tapes that it plays in our head over and over. But there's something beautiful about the person of Jesus who says, "Come to me, all that are heavy laden and burdened, and I'll give you rest. Come to me, and I'll even give you rest for your soul. Just come to me. Come on." And he's fulfilling this in this moment, in this place with her. And she tells him everything that had happened. If you ever know anybody that just spills the beans, my middle one, Noah's like this. He's a truth teller, man. When him and Caleb were younger and they'd get in trouble about something, we're like, "What happened here?" And Caleb would be quick to be like, "I don't know. Well, I'm not sure. What do you mean? What happened where? What are you talking about, Dad?" You know, and Noah would go, "We did it. We did this whole mess." You know, and Caleb would be like, "Dude, you know, looking over there, but that was who he is." But this is this moment, this power of confession. She's coming to Jesus. She's believing in Jesus, and she's confessing before Jesus. In his response, it's one of the most potent, amazing things in Scripture. And he said to her, "Daughter," not woman who's been ostracized, woman who we've left behind, a woman who everybody has forgotten about, a woman whose family won't even get near her or eat her food, a woman who's not held her husband's hand in 12 years. "Daughter, daughter, you touched my robe, didn't you? Your faith has made you well. Go in peace. Your suffering is over." And Jesus offers her, he says, "Go in peace." For the first time, she has been plagued by fear and the problems that she cannot overcome. She has sought out medical attention. She has went to every counselor, every physician, every doctor, every group, every person she could find, and nobody could provide her peace. And she instantly has a peace that passeth all understanding. And she is confessing and she is being honest in front of all these people. Because remember, there's a whole crowd of people, and she's being totally honest, a crowd that she was not welcome to at all. Jesus is now saying, "By the way, you have peace in your faith. Your faith has made you whole." And he says, "And I want to tell you who you actually are. You are not just a woman that nobody loves. You're not a woman that we are going to discard. You're not a woman that we are willing to leave in the margins and be ostracized. You are my daughter, and I love you. You are my daughter, and I'm going to stop in the middle of this whole crowd, and I know there's an emergency, and I know it's urgent, and I know we need to go, but it is no more urgent than you right now." And Jesus is saying, even through Scripture, in the middle of this crowd right now, or here online, and when everything's going on, what you're going through matters to him deeply, and he will stop heaven, and he will like come out like he did from heaven onto earth, and he will sit there, and he will talk to you, and he will meet with you. Like, this is a beautiful person of who Jesus is. And everybody's seeing this in this moment. and he calls her daughter. And I want to encourage you that some of us, we have allowed fear to believe that nothing will ever change, and we need to dream again. We need to take moments where we dare to actually dream again and do something. You know what's amazing? Solomon says, hope deferred. What are you deferring? What are you hoping for? What are you dreaming of that you've deferred? It'll make you heartsick. Do you not think that her heart was broken? Isn't it one thing when you actually get ill, you get sick, you don't feel good? But I swear that what is so worse is when your heart hurts. When you have heartache, when you have brokenness, when you have pain, when you have rejection, the shame that she carried, that she was no longer beautiful, she was not worthy. Nobody wanted to touch her. Nobody wanted to be near her. And now she's being restored, made whole. Her faith is healing her. She is being called daughter, that she is part of a family once again. It says, but a dream fulfilled is like the tree of life. And I just want to give you 3 quick thoughts. I want even to take a picture of these. We want to put them up there. There's this idea of prayer. What do I do in these moments? I got to imagine this lady was praying. Prayer is inspirational. It's not just inspirational in the thing like an inspirational meme of the day, but I mean deeply inspirational to the soul. Prayer begins to connect us to the heart of God. We begin to commune. We can come boldly before the throne of grace and actually talk to God and say, God, I'm hurting, I have fear, and I need faith. Even faith is a fruit of the Spirit. Even God, please help me increase my faith by knowing who you are more, by trusting in who you are. Making a plan is a big deal. Like I'd say if you're struggling right now in this area, get the Bible basics. Yeah, it's early, get an extra thing of Starbucks, whatever. If you're me, you grab an extra Diet Coke, you know? Most people choose Starbucks. I choose Diet Coke. But either way, you know, get some caffeine in you. Get there and get the Bible basics. Get in the Bible. Like start opening up Scripture and making a plan to actually let God's Word feed you. And then pursue something. Like implementation. Like actually do something about it. You know what's so amazing about her story? Like she came out of the shadows, out where nobody wanted to be around her, and she has been praying about this. Maybe she's been reading the Torah, she's been reading Scripture, she's been doing this, but she finally pursues, and she's like, if I just touch the robe of this guy, everything will change. But there's this second fear, the fear that too much has changed. And I want to bring us back in this story, in this moment, this amazing woman that is now called daughter. And everything is radically changed for her, but we got to go back to the tail end of this narrative, this story, because this is the tale of not one daughter, but 2. Remember Jairus, the leader of the synagogue, the one who everybody listened to, the one that was supposed to have it all together, is frantically lifting his robe, running after Jesus, asking him to come. The whole crowd's moving with him, like nothing's distinguished about this moment at all. Because fear puts us in those moments. Fear makes us look cowardly. Fear makes us look panicked. Right? Fear makes us look nervous, and that's fine because there's this idea that the fear that too much has changed. I've heard people say this, nothing can help our marriage, it's too far gone, too much has changed. He did too much. She betrayed me. This happened. We're never going to get our finances under control. They're too far gone, too much has changed, we've accumulated too much. My kid is gone, I'm empty nesting now, and I want a relationship with him, but too much has changed over time, and it's never going to get restored. I mean, I hear these stories all the time, and this is what's happening to him now. It says, while he was still speaking to her, Jesus, messengers arrived from the home of Jairus, the leader of the synagogue, and they told him, your daughter is dead. There's no use troubling the teacher now. And Jesus hears this, because even like that song earlier, Back to Life, there's a reality that he came to bring life and give it more abundantly. Because death is the greatest peak and summit of what fear is. We're fear of getting hurt, fear of losing out, fear of not being included, fear of vanishing all of a sudden, like fear of being gone, fear of death. And the worst fears are told to Jairus, his daughter who is dying, who is sick, who he thought Jesus could heal. Everything is shifted now. Can you imagine this moment? He's looking at this one woman who is now being called daughter and maybe thinking, I'm so excited for her, and it increases his hope for what Jesus could do. Now maybe he's, after hearing this message, say, there's nothing that can be done. She, in fact, got in the way and caused my daughter to die. I don't know what he's thinking. He's so frustrated and he's so anxious and annoyed. And Jesus looks to him and says, but Jesus overheard them and said to Jairus, don't be afraid. Just have what? Faith. In the middle of these two things, they are coexisting. He's saying, I know you're afraid. I know you are plagued by fear in this moment and nervous about it and worried about it, but I'm inviting you to have faith in me. Not just have this mythical faith or this essence of faith, or he's a faithful person, or they're dutiful, they're on time. No, 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 no. Putting our hope and our trust, our faith, like everything inside of our soul, into the person of Jesus. Jesus is looking at Jairus. He's really looking at you and I, and he's saying, follow me, trust me. Like, come see what I can do. And it picks back up. And this idea, too, is this. The enemy of believing faith is fear. Every time you feel a nudge, you feel God moving in your life, you feel maybe there's hope for restoration for my marriage, maybe there's hope and an idea that I can overcome this battle with depression, maybe there's something new on the horizon of my future. Man, the enemy of that is fear and saying, no way, it's not going to happen. But Jesus is saying, don't be afraid, just have faith. Come on, Jairus. Then Jesus stopped the crowd and wouldn't let anyone go with him except Peter, James, and John. So you got to understand, this first incident is this major, massive crowd, everybody seeing, and then Jesus stops the crowd. He looks to Peter, James, and John, to Jairus and his wife. He says, you come with me. You five, you come with me. When they came to the home of the synagogue leader, Jesus saw much commotion and weeping and wailing. He went inside and asked, why all this commotion and weeping? The child isn't dead, she's only asleep. And the crowd laughed at him. Have you ever felt the moment where if you admitted your fear, people would laugh? If you admitted your fear, you'd feel shame. If you got honest about needing help, you would feel this moment of rebuke and shame, and that's what this crowd is doing. And they're full of fear, but no longer faith. And Jesus says this, but he made them all leave. And he took the girl's father and mother and his 3 disciples into the room where the little girl was lying. Holding her hand, he said to her, Talitha koum, which means, little girl, get up. And the girl, who was 12 years old, immediately stood up and walked around. And they were overwhelmed and totally amazed. And I can't even imagine that moment. And there, Jesus looks into the abyss of darkness. He looks into the darkest moment of Jairus and his wife's life in that moment. Their 12-year-old daughter, who they had loved, who they had cherished, who they had celebrated annually every single year for her birthday, right? The whole town knew. He's running out, finding Jesus, going back. Everybody's laughing, but Jairus' eyes are welled, full of tears and anxiety and nervousness, and there's still this inkling of faith in the middle of this moment of their fear. And Jesus is looking back into the abyss and saying, just have faith in this moment, follow me. And he takes them into the darkness of the room, into this place where nobody else can go, because Jesus will go there with us. This is what David meant in the valley of the shadow of death. When nobody shows up with you, I will be there. In your darkest moments, I'm right there by you. When everybody has bailed and laughed and forgotten and said, forget it, I will stand firm with you. Jesus is saying this right now. And he has the ability to speak life. I mean, when I look around and I think about our community and the beautiful things I see, like I stop, like Grant, we were texting this morning, man. How sobriety has been for how long now? How many months? 19? 19 months sober, man. I'm telling you. And I was thinking of you this morning because this beautiful reality that Jesus steps into our dark moments. Remember we were at Leo's Coney almost a year and a half ago, man, talking about that? And there was disbelief. It's not going to happen. It's not going to change. And it's not because of Kensington. It's not because of us. It's because of who Jesus is. Reaching out to Grant and says, don't be afraid. Just have faith. And he's still inviting you and Nicole on that journey. Man, I stopped and you know what's crazy? Like, how many years sober now, Mom? 14 years sober, man. This is like, right? And I remember, don't have fear, but just have faith. These moments and this reality of who Jesus is. As the band comes out and we get ready to move into a moment of worship, I want to ask you this question. What do you have so much fear of that you think will never change? I have a fear that nothing's ever going to change. Jeremiah, I appreciate what you're saying. I love what's going on with Grant. I love what's going on with these other people, but nothing's going to change for me. Nothing will change in my marriage. Nothing will change in my life. Nothing will change at all for me. Or maybe that too much has changed. You feel like, just like Jairus in that moment, he had to have thought, too much is gone. She's gone. There's nothing, you're right, there's nothing the teacher can do. And Jesus reaches out and says, yeah, I can. I mean, seriously, stop, because this is what makes us people of faith. These are these moments where I would love for science to explain it. I would love for all these other factors to come into it, right? But there's a reality that it's impossible to please God. It's impossible to connect with God at the level that we desire to and we want to until we actually step out in faith and begin to say, God, are you real? Are you there? Can you actually meet me in this moment? Can you do that? Can you meet me in this moment? And our fear will hold us prisoner. It'll hold us back. It'll stop us from being invited to this life of faith. And I just want to tell you more than ever, I dream of an incredible future for us, for our community, for your families, for all of us here and online. But I know that fear will hold us back. Fear will pull us backwards and not allow us to step forward in faith in these moments. And they both exist at the same time. It's impossible really for one without the other to be there. That's why I love Maggie's phrase. She says, just do it afraid. Nobody ever just stepped out in faith and said, I have no fear. If they did, they didn't know what they're talking about, right? But they step out in faith and they're like, I'm totally afraid, God. But I'm totally going to trust you in that moment. And I can't even imagine this woman that is called daughter. Are you kidding? Her whole life changed. Are you kidding? And we think, man, that's just relics. These are just moments caught in history, a far gone human history. We don't see that today. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Are you kidding? You're not thinking that Jesus said, Grant, you're my son, man. I love you. I'm not gonna quit until I know you're found and you find your faith in me and you got your feet on solid ground with me. I'm not gonna give up. Jesus is looking at Jairus and he's saying, I'm not gonna quit. I know everybody else quit. Forget them. Do you know Jesus says that? He's like, I love them, but forget them for a minute. Follow me. Follow me into this moment of faith. Man, can you imagine and it's so interesting, in Mark 4 before Mark 5, Jesus is teaching these parables so that we would understand, and then they come to life before the eyes of the disciples. Faith like a mustard seed, just a little bit, and it'll grow something so beautiful. And Jesus is saying, just put a little bit of faith in me. Let me work something unbelievable in front of you. I was reading about this story. And as I was reading about it, I looked up some different commentary and an author from Biola University. Her name's Betsy Barber, and she was described, she's a brilliant professor of theology at Biola University, Christian University, and she was doing an exposition on the story of the tale of two daughters. And she says, when it comes down to it, here's what happened. Here's who she believes who God is. She says, the Lord Jesus brings life to the dead, cleanliness to the unclean, and healing to the sick. And through salvation, he brings us to life and holiness. His intent is to reverse the law of sin and death and to give us instead holiness and life. Life and purity radiate from him, and he gives them away. I love this freely. He is generous and always merciful. This has always been his characteristic way of responding to his daughters and sons. This is who he is. I thought, man, she's so right. And I look at Scripture, and that's who he is. And I don't know what you're clinging to and what you're holding on to, but I just want to encourage you today. I just want to pray for you. I'd love just to invite us up to stand. I'd say even here online, if you're there, man, just let's stand in this moment, not out of some religious pretext, but stand and really, and I know none of us would always feel comfortable getting this out there, but just stand and be honest that we all come in here with fear. We all come in here with doubt, man. I do. Raise your hand if you have any fear right now, any worry, any anxiety, any care. We're going to cast it all on Jesus right now. Because he has this incredible power to look into the abyss of our fear. And he pushes it back with his perfect love because fear and love, and fear and faith, they can only coexist for so long. And then eventually faith, if we trust Jesus, our faith and his love pushes it out. And I want to pray for us to become a more faithful people, not a more religious people, a more dutiful people, a faithful people that put our faith in who Jesus is. He is the rock, right? He is our anchor. He is the bright morning star. He is the lover of your soul. He is the forgiver of sins. He is a friend to sinners. And he's everything. He is so amazing. If we can just keep elevating his name, we got nothing to worry about. We'll go places. If we elevate programs and everything else, forget it. If we elevate the name of Jesus, I'm telling you, watch out. Jesus, we ask as a community right now, Lord, we pray that in the presence of our fear, in the presence of our enemies, God, that we would fear not because you are with us. And I pray that we put our faith in you, Jesus. Every person, every man, every woman, every kid, every grandma and grandpa, every person that we love someone dearly online, all of us, we put our faith in you and we watch you do the remarkable. God, we watch you call us daughters and sons and restore us, and we watch you bring things back to life that everybody said, discount that, that's dead. And you said, no, because you're the author of life. And so I pray that, Jesus, that we put our faith in you, in your holy name. Amen.
Oh, when I am afraid, oh, when I am afraid, oh, when I am afraid, just give me Give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. You can have all this world. Just give me Jesus. Oh, you can have all of this world. Give me Jesus. Right now, anything can happen. Right here, everything can change. It is time, cast all your cares upon him. Right here, right now, no fear. Don't fret, just run into his presence. Just know he's got every single tear. Be cleansed in the holy rain of Jesus. Right here, right now, no fear. Just turn your eyes upon Jesus. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Just turn your eyes upon Jesus.
that we can approach the throne of grace boldly. I encourage you today, remember that we can rest in his presence. We can seek his presence and be reminded of his goodness. And so we seek the name of Jesus. Come on, we sing he is good. Oh, fear not, for he is good. To the Savior, for he has overcome it all. Fear not, for he is God. Just turn your eyes upon Jesus. Oh, turn your eyes upon Jesus. Turn your just turn your eyes upon Jesus. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Right here, right now, no fear.
Amen. We can do that and stand in the presence of our Lord and say, we have no fear looking out ahead of us. Not because of anything we did or that we can do, but because of who our God is. Like Jeremiah said, our scripture says that his perfect love casts out fear. And our God is the one who goes before us and makes the way. No matter the circumstance, no matter the trial, no matter the season, he is the one who makes a way. In all things, he can. Even when we don't see it or feel it, he is doing it. That is why we can have assurance and faith in who he is and not fear when we are in his presence. So we're gonna sing out this song called Waymaker and just let this be a declaration that this is who our God is and this is who we're putting our faith in. That he is the one who can do all things because that is who he is. Amen? So let's sing this out together with the confidence of who our God is and that he is the one who holds us. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place, and I worship you, oh, I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst, and I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're working in this place, and I worship you, I worship you, 'cause you are You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, turning lives around, and I worship you. I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you, yeah, I worship you. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you, I worship you. Oh, you are here, healing every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Yeah, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Let's sing that again, 'cause you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. That is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. That is who you are. And that is who you are. 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 Oh, that is who you are. Never failing, always steadfast, always right there. Yeah. Always moving, always working for our good. Let's sing out, even when I can't, you're still working. Here we go. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I can't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop. Come on, lift that up. Yeah, even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop.
It's so good to be just reminded. I think so too. So reminded. Thank you all. Reminding us who God is, man. I'm telling you, I'm excited to think as a community as we continue to grow together and put our faith in Jesus. Anything's possible around here. We love you. If there's anything we do to be a support, man, from courses and groups to coffees to connections to whatever it is we can do, please reach out. We'd love to be a blessing to you. And hey, be a blessing to our community. Go to Taste of Clarkston and get some good grub, overeat a little bit, spend more money than you planned on, and do that, right? So, no, we love you. Have an incredible day. God bless you. Take care.